This is Will's Band of the Week for April 16th, 2017. Hello, and welcome to another edition of Will's Band of the Week. This is Will, along with Barrett, live in studio.
Hello.
I see you brought a red phone with you today.
Yes, I got a new phone.
You get the product red thing?
Yes.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's got my old phone. I didn't even want to get a new one. I had I guess it was a 6, iPhone 6.
Yeah.
Everything worked about it except for the phone. Like, I couldn't make any calls.
Well, when a phone doesn't work as a phone, that's a problem.
Now it's just like an iPod. So I'm going to keep it and just keep it in the car.
Oh, you can do that? Yeah.
So
I had an old one I was going to do that with, and it just started to cause too many headaches because the screen was messing up, and it was just bad.
And my old phone had 16 megs or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
So it was always running out of space, and my son's got one with 64. I was like, oh my God, that would be great.
Yeah.
This one has 256.
That's great. You can put all your music on there and not even worry about it.
I don't have to worry about it anymore. I was always deleting apps. Maybe I don't need that. Maybe I can do without that. So,
before we continue recording, I think we better. I have a technical thing I have to correct here. The screen is doing something strange, which makes me worry that we're going to lose the entire thing like we did that one time. So, we'll be back right after this message from our sponsors. Okay, we're back. Hopefully we've solved the technical problem.
It's not flashing in that way that was making you nervous, so we might be in okay shape.
Things seem to be back to normal. So we were talking about your phone with 256 gigabytes of memory.
Right.
Yeah. You could download movies on the thing.
I know, that's right.
I've never done that, though. Have you ever done that? I
don't know why I'd want to watch a movie on my phone, I guess.
I've never watched a movie on my phone. Maybe I've watched a couple of single episodes of TV shows.
Right.
Like when my family, we were watching it together, and then they got ahead of me on the show, so when I went to bed, I watched it on my phone.
Right.
But that's the only time I've done that. I think younger people do that more. We're old, so we don't do that.
Right. Yeah, I don't know.
But your music library, you've got all those CDs.
Right.
Did you ever convert those to MP3?
Well, that was my idea that I was going to do that, and then, then we'd run out of space on the computer.
Yeah.
And, whatever. Say you pop a disc in, walk away, come back 3 hours later, and there's a message up there like, would you like to download this CD?
Yeah.
There's all kinds of little frustrating things where you just kind of abandon that project pretty quickly.
Yeah. But with I bet with your computer now, your current Mac, you could probably convert a CD in about a minute, right, or two.
Sure.
The process would go a lot quicker.
It would go quicker, but it doesn't really seem to be a reason to do it anymore.
That's true. Especially if you have a streaming service. If you have,
it would just be a waste of time for me.
Yeah.
Some people, would like to have that, but it's just not important to me.
Well, even if you wouldn't use the whole 256 gigabytes, it's worth it because you're cool, because you have a phone that has 256 gigabytes.
Totally. To show you how carefree I am about my space, I'm going to take a picture of your dog sitting on the chair.
And you just don't even have to care about all the memory that's taking up.
I could take a movie of your dog.
You could. Yeah.
Yeah. The dog does happen to be sitting in Chris's spot.
Right. He seems kind of proud that he's keeping Chris off of that chair.
Yeah, he does. I think if Chris, how once in a while one of us will come in late. Right. If Chris did that today, there'd be some real trouble.
Yeah.
There'd be a fight.
Yep. He'd be growling, and Chris would get scared off.
He might get bit. We might have to take him down to the emergency room.
He'd just dart out of the fourth bedroom studios.
So let's hope that he stays away.
Yeah. So in podcaster news, I stopped and saw Anurag earlier this week.
That's right.
Yeah, it was great. So my son and I were looking at a couple of colleges up in Anurag's neck of the woods. So it was great. On our way there, I was driving past Kitchener, and literally, like, as I was getting to Kitchener, I sent him a message. I said, "Hey, Anurag, I'm in Kitchener. Are you around by chance?"
Yeah.
I said, "I guess it's a little bit short notice." And it turned out he wasn't home. He was actually in Toronto at the time.
Wow.
And I was heading for Toronto. But then we were heading back. Then we were able to meet up with him.
Right.
So it was great. And I want to thank Anurag and his wife for a fantastic pasta salad
Oh, wow.
that they served us. It was
Very
just,
nice.
It was excellent. And got to get caught up with Anurag. He could have a live report, I guess. I'm going to abbreviate his live report. He went to see Wilco. He had never seen them before. And he was very impressed, which is good.
Good.
Yep. And he was going to see PJ Harvey. He had plans, so we'll see if he comes through with that.
Right.
Gives us a live report. And let's see, the other news from Anurag was that he kind of likes the Father John Misty album. I had to tell him that.
Man.
I had to tell him that we were kind of sorry that we weren't really on board with that. So,
Yeah, it's a complete mystery to me. I mean, if it's a thing where some people are like, yeah, I kind of like this. Okay, fine. But why does it get so much? I don't understand that at all. I can't begin to understand what people see in that.
it could be that just generations haven't been exposed to certain genres, and it sounds fresh and interesting to them. But like you
So,
said,
like, they've never heard Elton John before.
well, that was. I thought your comment was good. You said it sounded like Elton John B-sides.
It does.
I only got through like 10 minutes of it or less, and then I just decided it's not worth it.
Right.
So, but if Anurag likes it, there's got to be something about it that is appealing to a certain group of people.
I think the lyrics are what some people gravitate toward. They do
apparently-
seem to be pretty well thought out,
yeah,
but there has to be more than that,
yeah.
and there isn't,
Yep.
in my opinion. I
Sorry,
think it's terrible.
sorry, Anurag. All right,
But yeah, still respect Anurag and his musical tastes. I know one of the things he really likes this year is that Alison Crutchfield, and I'm liking that a lot too. Anyway, I just felt like I had to throw that in there after I kind of badmouthed something that he did like.
yeah. We don't want him feeling dejected,
No.
right?
Mm-mm.
Well, we've got lots of fun this week, as we always do, right?
Yes.
So,
The first thing isn't, we shouldn't frame that as being a fun thing, though.
no, I guess we can't call this fun. And now it's time for the death of the week. Jay Giles,
Mm-hmm.
known because he's the namesake of the Jay Giles Band.
Right. What is this? Well, excuse me. What was his first name?
Jay with a period after it.
Okay. Yeah.
As far as I know. No, it's probably James Giles or something. I'm not sure. So here, let's talk about a little trivia. Jay Giles played guitar for the Jay Giles Band. And the singer was a guy named Peter Wolf. And the guy who wrote almost all the songs was the keyboard player named Seth Justman. So now I'm focusing on their most popular album that we're going to talk about in a minute. But is there any other band ever in history where that is the case? Where the person the band is named after is not the singer and is not the songwriter?
No.
I mean, that's just
you
weird,
take the
right?
naming the band after part away, and then you could come up with some. But yeah, that's very odd.
Yeah,
It would be
so-
like if, I don't know, Diana Ross and the Supremes, and she was just like a backup singer.
Yeah,
That wouldn't make any sense.
right. So maybe he just started the band, and then that's just what they were known as, and then they couldn't change it. They decided they didn't want to change it.
Right.
Kind of like Will's Band of the Week, right?
Totally.
It's named after
if you
me,
could
but
do,
you
if
guys
you could
took
do it
over.
over, then you would call it Barrett's Band of the Week.
Right.
But,
Yeah.
just like they didn't want to call it the Peter Wolf, I guess it would be the P. Wolf Band.
The P. Wolf Band. Yeah. Yeah.
They just had too much currency is the other thing.
So they had this monster hit album released in 1982 called Freeze Frame. And, we're supposed to say, nice things about people, right? But I kind of think Jay Giles' band just wasn't that good. Is that harsh to say?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I haven't listened to enough of it really to comment on the quality of their craftsmanship, but I certainly didn't like it.
Everybody of our age, though, has this just etched in their brain, right? This is Centerfold. That was all over MTV in 1982, right?
Yep.
And, it's so outwardly catchy that you can understand why it was a hit. But It's also kind of terrible, right?
Yeah, it's the whole conceit of the song is ridiculous.
Yes.
What if, you could make a strong argument, though, that if somebody were going to put a time capsule together, shoot it into space so that people would understand Earth in the 1980s, if somebody said, we have to put this song on there, it'd really be kind of hard to argue. It was so big, and it just can't have come from any other time.
Right. It
can't be from 1978 or anything, or from 1990.
Right.
Only from this one brief period.
And they're kind of blues rock, I guess, but then this has elements of sort of that guitar is kind of like a disco thing.
Yeah.
That he's playing, and that I just love thinking about the simplicity of that guitar line and how any of a million guitar players could play that. And yet here's this guy that the band is named after.
Yeah,
it's like, hey, I'm the guy that plays this thing.
Right.
It's just funny.
When I heard the news about Jay Giles dying, I part of me knew that Peter Wolf was the guy that was the singer.
Yeah.
But I was just sort of picturing, oh, that guy died. I had a picture of him in my mind that he had died. And I'm sure when, people that only know him a little bit, in real life, probably like, wait, I thought you had died. No, that was the other guy. Maybe he's dead too. I probably not. I
don't think so.
We would have covered that.
Yeah, of course. Well, one of our mutual Facebook friends put up a very funny post. He said, the third most popular member of the Jay Giles band just died.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
Or third most well-known or whatever. Yeah. Interesting. All right. Well, anyway, Jay Giles, rock and roll history.
Yep. And then, of course, their other big song was Freeze Frame.
Right, which was almost as annoyingly catchy.
Right.
It goes like this.
Freeze frame!
So the keyboard guy, he's the producer and songwriter. He's probably thinking, listen to this riff I came up with.
Yeah.
It's going to be a monster hit.
Yep, and he was right.
Yeah, he called it. Kind of like Hall & Oates, right? Hit Machine.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't really reproduce it, though. I mean, they weren't Hall & Oates had 20 songs like that, right? That were hit machines. The Jay Giles band only had 3 or 4. Maybe.
Yeah, or maybe 2.
Yeah.
I don't know any other
There are a
ones.
couple other ones that probably would be familiar.
Oh, wait. Love Stinks.
Oh, that was really terrible, too. Yeah. That
The
actually
lyrics
is
are
earlier.
Love Stinks. Yeah. Those are the...
Yeah.
That's just over and over again.
Love Stinks, apparently, according to this list I'm looking at, is from 1979. So that was before... They were on the trajectory to become hit machines. Yep. All right, that's Jay Giles Band. All right, now we're going to talk about the new album by British Sea Power, and we have a little trivia regarding this. because our British Sea Power expert is Craig.
Right.
And when we suggested that we talk about this album, he actually fled the country to avoid having to talk about it.
Yeah, I guess that says a lot about what he thinks.
Yeah. Which, so Craig he'll tell you about this. He probably has told us about it on the podcast, but I think he's seen this band live like 10 times or something.
Okay.
He's a monster fan of this band.
Mm-hmm.
And so I mentioned that they had a new album, and I said, listen to this and tell us whether it's podcast worthy. Within like 6 hours, I think he responded. He said, I listened and I don't think so.
Right.
So it's really, I have to say it's kind of strange to me because to me this album I like it. I'm just going to say right out front, I like it. And I think it's generally of the caliber of their whole catalog, which is really solidly good.
Right.
So, but there's something about it that either he's just not any more interested in the band for whatever reason, or maybe there is something about it that just doesn't click with him the way the others did.
Right. Well, he said, in some messages that he had lost all objectivity. So he kind of admitted that he wasn't really able to step back and judge the thing on its merits.
Yeah.
But within a couple of listens, you just said, no, not podcast worthy. Mm-hmm. And that's what kind of got our attention. Like, really? This is one of your favorite bands. And so that, made us want to go back and listen to it. And you came away with positive feelings about it. And I mostly did too. There's some things about it that turned me off. But overall, I really wish Craig were on here to provide that counterpoint that I'm sure he'll be yelling as he listens to this podcast when he gets back from his trip.
Yeah, maybe he'll just quit the podcast entirely.
He might
disown
quit,
us. Yeah. Well, let's play some of it. I really like the second to last track, number 11. We don't play track 11 that often, do we?
No, we don't.
So this is a special treat. It's called Don't Let the Sun Get in the Way.
You know what that sounds a little bit like is, say, David Gedge singing for Coldplay. You
brought up the Coldplay thing.
Smooth edges and...
I might have mentioned this to you guys earlier. It borders on the Coldplay arena rock, but to me it falls on the right side of it, but to others maybe not.
Yeah, I would say, well, right, most things are going to be on the right side of that line. it's arena ready, though. I think you'd have to say that.
Yep. Arena ready. That's a great term.
Yeah, I just feel like, I can enjoy that. But I don't know. Maybe, I think one thing that Craig said is, and maybe you're the one that brought it up first, is that it's just very competent, anthemic indie rock music. But does it get to be more than that, I guess, is the question.
Yeah.
At times it does, but I don't know that it does all the way through.
My comparison, for whatever reason, the vibe of it reminds me of Echo and the Bunnymen, which makes me like it. And it's got an 80s alternative rock kind of thing going on, right? Which they've always been. That's kind of been their thing.
Right.
But I'm on board with it. Do you have a track to pick?
Well, the song that there's a little introduction that's like a half a minute long. So this is song 2, but it's really kind of the first song on there, called Bad Bohemian. So yeah, that one's got just kind of a propulsive beat to it and lots of hooks. And I especially like the way that even on the word bohemian, in the second half of the word, bohemian, like fourth syllable or whatever, he like sticks an extra hook in there. Just the way he kind of phrases the word. I think to me that's like kind of the highlight of the album, is that little tiny bit of an idea repeated throughout this song. And I don't mean that as in a bad way. It's just a highlight for me. I
think he's a very underrated singer.
Yeah.
I think he's got a really interesting kind of breathy voice, but it's unique and it's cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure Craig knows these guys' names, but there's the main guy and the other guy, right? That's what I'm going to call them.
The main guy and the other guy. Yeah. And then the other ones are just like the other guys. They're not even, they're a collective other guys.
Right. But singing-wise, the main guy usually sings like all but 2 or 3 of them. And then the other guy, they give the other guy a couple. I think he's his brother. So there. How's that for music journalism? Oh my God. Think what Craig is thinking right now. It's like they're just butchering this entire thing.
Oh, I know. Sorry, Craig. The details are definitely lacking here, but hopefully the analysis is
it's
at least pretty good.
Yeah.
I think it is.
Yeah, it's pretty solid.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I think there's kind of a mood piece. There are a lot of mood pieces. A lot of this album is kind of subdued. And the first time I listened to it, I was thinking it was mainly just the impression of hey, you can't write this off so quickly, Craig. That was my first impression, right? I wasn't thrilled with it, but it was like, come on, you can't just write this thing off. But it's one of those albums where it's sunk in more the more I listen to it. So some of the stuff that seems kind of like underwhelming at first, there are a lot of layers to it. The recording it's just really well done, I think. So here's one. It's never bad to play track 7, right?
No.
So we're going to do that. By the way, the album is called Let the Dancers Inherit the Party. And track 7 is Electrical Kittens. That's British Sea Power.
Mm-hmm. You know, this album would fit in really well at the coffee shop, with the exception of one song in here that I absolutely hate.
Oh, I bet you hate the one that has that like thing they shout.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's called
Keep on Trying.
Keep on Trying, and then in parentheses, Sex Freunde, which I was like, what does that mean? And it means 6 friends.
Right.
And there are 6 people in the band.
Yeah.
I don't have any objection to celebrating friendship or anything like that, or even to shouting things, but it's like, it's almost like the producer said, okay, you guys want to say Sex Freunde? Fine. You got to say it in the most annoying way that you can think of. And then they did 100 takes, and this was the worst one.
That's so funny, because part of when I was listening to it, I was thinking that I don't know if Barrett would go for this.
No.
And I don't really, it doesn't bother me. I think the song is okay. But I guess now that we've brought that up, we should just play it so people make your own decisions. Whose side are you on?
Sex Freunde!
Well, they do that a whole bunch of times in the song.
Right, and then it kind of does. There is a song too, and then they're doing the song, and then you're like, maybe they're done with that, but no, it keeps coming up over.
All right. Well, you can make the playlist for the coffee shop, and you can just
delete that one. Yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise, people will just stand up and walk out of the shop.
Right. What's this? That's outrageous.
Yep.
We don't have to take this crap.
I should have mentioned this at the beginning. if I were a music journalist, I'd have it better organized. But these guys are indie rock veterans. Do you know that their first album, The Decline of British Sea Power, is from 2003?
Wow.
We're talking 14 years ago.
Yeah, that's a long time.
So that makes them veterans. And I think that if you're on, I think it's pretty close to, if not their 10th album, and if you can still make a really solid album at that point, that's pretty good.
That is good.
So sounds like you're kind of in the middle. Craig is, I'm not so convinced that he really hates it, but he's not prepared to endorse it. But I'm going to endorse it. So we're kind of all over the map on this one.
Right.
Yep. All right. So the time has come that I must discuss the new Guided by Voices album.
You're approaching this from a similar standpoint that Craig approached with British Sea Power as a long-time big fan with,
right,
high expectations or what?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we read a lot in the last 6 months to a year about how there's a new lineup of Guided by Voices, which of course is really just Robert Pollard and whoever he cobbles together. There's an original lineup, and they did the reunion. They did more albums with the original lineup. And now he's got this new lineup, and the drummer has Kevin March has played with them over the years at various times. But the other guys, and Doug Gillard too, guitar player who's also been in Nada Surf. See, I know I've got a little music journalism thing going on here,
good.
right? And then a couple of other guys that have never been associated with Guided by Voices. And so I've been reading about how they're kind of revitalized because these guys are all having fun. The new band is great, and they're going to have a new album with the new band. So it's like, okay, that sounds fun. That's cool. And this is billed as Robert Pollard's 100th album that he's put out.
Wow.
His solo stuff, Guided by Voices, side projects, whatever. By somebody's count, apparently his own, it's his 100th album. And it's a 32-track album, which they're calling a double album because I guess the vinyl has 2 records.
Okay.
Right? So I'm thinking, well, hey, maybe this is going to be cool. And it's just not that cool. Sorry. That's it. Yeah.
Are we going to hear some of it, or is it not even...
Can have a little silence now of sadness. Yeah, let's play some of it, because you could take, and this is like the Pollard history, right? If he had an editor, you could have some he already does have some unbelievably great albums, but if he had an editor, he'd have a lot more great albums. But he'd only have about a quarter as many albums, right?
Yeah, he'd only have like 25 albums.
Instead of 100,
yeah.
Right. So, yeah, okay. So there's definitely some good stuff on this album. So here's a really good Guided by Voices song called Amusement Park is Over.
Avoiding conditions and excellent bypass, and crashing traditions submerged in their morass. And always the drinking card, and always a plan for the attack. Beware the lion roaring back, upstream to the backslide, forgiving it a swim. Diving for false light, the mirror is still him. And running the roses are in bloom, and throwing a chair across the room, and busting a hole to ply the womb. Amusement park is over, they'll exit holding hands. Amusement park is over.
So yeah, out of 32 tracks,
That's the only one
It was a
that you
good one.
like?
I like about 5 or 6 of them.
Oh, boy. I mean, he must have, considering how many albums he put out, these must all be things that he just came up with within a week of recording it.
Could be, yeah. Another thing that's interesting is like on this album, he gives each of the band members, or at least 3 other guys, have a couple songs on it, and it's like I'm not sure if that's really necessary, but I mean they're having fun. Almost every song that's not by Pollard is just kind of a standard power pop song that's just okay,
Right.
but just nothing really interesting.
If you're in a band, though, that's putting out, say 100 songs a year, it's kind of hard to argue against, given the other guys.
Yeah, really, that's true.
Can I have one?
Right. Yeah.
But I can't think of that many bands where that's been super successful. Obviously you have like Uncle Tupelo and Fleetwood Mac and stuff.
Yeah.
But usually when they kind of just give somebody else or the Beatles, when they give somebody else a chance, it's like,
Yeah, here, let's play
Don't
an
really need
example. Here's one that it's by the bass player Mark Shue called Sudden Fiction.
We're so young, so bold, vision. We're wrapped inside the alien sheets. You call us into some fiction, and that's inside we'll never see.
Okay, that's enough.
yeah.
So,
it's
like,
just
if that's
whatever.
if that's the best, one of the best of the other guys' songs, you can see what I'm getting at on this,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. All right. There's another really good one though. So I mean, if you're willing to edit, in fact, I read one of the reviews of this album was like, yeah, it's all right if you edit, and he puts his own edit on there. He's like, here's the album cut down from 32 tracks to 12, and now it's a pretty decent album.
Right.
That's what he was saying. I'm not really even sure if I can do that with this one. I can make it like a 5-track EP.
Oh my gosh.
So, but this one's good. Hiking Skin.
Pinch, a singular net in most uncertain areas. How about you? How about me? Keep noble dreams alive. Keep Roman dreams alive. Be careful on the highway. How about you? How about me? Sky high headlights at the times we're going out. Sky high headlights at the times we're going out.
Yeah.
I think that song, that right there, that's like the microcosm of all of Guided by Voices right there. Mm-hmm. That's a less than 2-minute song. It's just packed with ideas and interesting. It's just cool. And if they do a whole album like that, it would just be fantastic.
Right.
But they can't. You know?
Yeah. I don't have nearly the background with Guided by Voices that you have. In fact, if I tell you my 2 favorite albums, you'd probably roll your eyes and maybe even kick me off the podcast.
Yeah, I might. So you better be careful.
Do the Collapse and Isolation Drills.
Oh yeah, yeah,
I mean, those are like their attempts at breakthrough, right?
kinda. Yeah. A lot of people really speak highly of Isolation Drills.
I think it's great.
That one is more. That one succeeds more than. Did you say Do the Collapse?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think Isolation Drills is better.
But these songs that you played, the Pollard ones, I don't think they find their way onto those albums.
They're more. Yeah, they're
Or
more.
they're not the right sound, I guess.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
those are, especially Isolation Drills. It's pretty big and tight and slick.
Right. Right. I would. You say this more often than I do because I like to keep current with bands and maybe give them stick with them for too long, maybe. But you often say, just go listen to the old stuff because that's the good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, and really, I would go back to B1000 and Alien Lanes. But the 2 you mentioned are good too. But that's the wheelhouse as far as I'm concerned of Guided by Voices. And ever since, there's always been, every album has had its moments. But it's it becomes harder and harder to put together a full album that's just really good quality. And unfortunately, this latest album is called August by Cake, by the way. It's a prime example of how you can't do it when you can't do it for a regular length album, and then you do a double album. It just kind of just underscores the fact that you can't
Right.
put together a full album of great pop nuggets like Pollard can do.
But I mean, what if he had an editor and he put out one album every 2 years, which is kind of what people do now.
Yeah. You'd
I
think
think you'd probably have a very high opinion of their current stuff then.
you'd think that would be possible.
Like if he hired you to weed through and construct albums and space them out.
Right. Yeah. Too bad he never hired me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe
But
he's listening.
It also makes you wonder whether on one hand, I wonder whether he even knows what his good stuff is. You know what I mean? It's almost like he's lost touch with his own writing
Right.
if he puts this all out. But then he seems to figure out when they play live, it's always the greatest hits. Maybe he just figures out what the audience likes the
Right.
most. But when they play live, I could go see him live tomorrow, and I'm sure it would be just great because
Right.
they have to edit, right?
Right.
They only have time for 40 songs probably they play in one live set, because they average less than 2 minutes.
Right.
So, but it'd be pretty good.
Yeah. What do you hear stories about it. Somebody will write a song and be like, or you come up with a melody and you think, it feels like I've heard that before. Maybe I'm subconsciously, plagiarizing a song. He must do that with himself. He writes a song and they're like, you did that basically 6 years ago on one year. So
Right.
oh yeah, because his brain works in a certain way.
Right.
And would tend to come up with, similar types of things. So,
Right.
but not like he's going to sue himself.
Probably
for
not.
plagiarism.
Right.
Be kind of funny if one of the other guys that wrote a song copied a Robert Pollard song.
Yeah. Or it's he comes up with a song and then the bass player from 1997 says, "Hey, we played that when we were rehearsing back in 1997. That was my idea."
Yeah,
That could happen.
that
right?
could happen. just the idea of writing one song to me is like climbing Mount Everest. It's like I just, So even if they're not all of uniform quality, good on him, right, for writing all those songs. That's great.
Yeah.
And that Replacements book, I'm still reading it. I should probably be done with it by now, but I read slowly and not as often as I should. Paul Westerberg talks about writing songs like, oh yeah, I wrote this one on the way to the gas station to get cigarettes. What are you talking about? How? I don't get it. Or he'd show up at the recording studio and they're ready to record the song and he didn't have it written out, much less typed up on something but just like matchbooks and scraps of paper and stuff, and you just kind of lay them out there and then sing from that.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Anyway, sorry to get sidetracked there, but just the mystery of songwriting to me, I don't know. You've written songs. Do you feel that you could write, say, given a few months, write an EP's worth of songs that you'd be proud of?
Probably, yeah. Not lyrically.
Right.
It'd be forced. The lyrics would have to be forced, and then it would probably be, noticeable to people that it was forced.
Yeah.
So I would just probably contract with like Bernie Taupin or something.
Yeah,
like that.
totally. What would you even write about? Like, I think about my life. What would I write about? Dropping my kid off at school, like washing dishes at the coffee shop.
Yeah.
I don't know. Taking the dog for a walk. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think
know.
I have enough of a rock and roll lifestyle to write songs that people would find interesting. Of course, I could use walking the dog as some kind of a metaphor
Yeah.
for whatever. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know.
Anyway.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I kind of hate to... we don't do that too often. Like, say we're going to talk about an album and we're going to basically say we don't like it. But I invested enough time. I mean, this thing is... the Guided by Voices album is an hour and 11 minutes long. And I couldn't just listen to it once. So that means I probably listened to it 3 times. So I've got over 3 hours into this thing, right?
Yeah.
So I have to talk about it on the podcast.
Right. Otherwise, that's just wasted time.
Right. Yeah. It's called maximizing your efficiency of time. Something
Right.
like that.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah, there you go. Those are my impressions. So I think that's what we've got this week, right? We didn't have
Yeah.
time to listen to anything else.
I certainly didn't.
You didn't. And so, well, there's a lot of interesting stuff out there. We're going to come up with more and probably have a podcast next week. I'm going to be gone from Friday to Sunday. We'll have to figure that out for next week.
Maybe we could do, well, this is usually stuff we handle off the air,
Yeah.
but maybe we could do Thursday.
Yeah, that'd be possible. Let's shoot for that. And we could maybe just sit here and talk about boring stuff so that the listeners feel like they're getting their $0 worth. Because if it rose above 0, then we need to take it back down to 0.
Right. Otherwise, we're going to be sending out invoices. I don't even know where we get the addresses to do that.
Yeah, there's got to be some way to do it.
Yeah. I guess, oops, I'm getting a call here. That must be a signal that it's time to.
That fancy
Wrap
new
it up.
phone that has like a new ringtone,
Yeah.
sounds like. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's the my phone has 256 gigabytes of memory ringtone.
Yes.
Right? It's a special one. Mm-hmm. So people will hear that and they'll be like, wow, is that guy ever cool?
That's incredible. He must be able to store so much stuff on there to make your head spin. In fact,
Yeah.
here, I'll show you an example of how careless I can be with my storage. Got Father John Misty. I didn't even take it off.
Wow.
I know.
You left it on there.
Yeah.
Now the problem, of
Just
course,
to
is
show
that
off.
the problem is then if you decide to play your music on random play, then that could come on.
That's true. I
Right.
don't think I've ever done that.
Don't you ever? Isn't that? I like doing that sometimes. I just I have downloaded a lot of stuff onto my phone, and I'll just put it on random play, and it's kind of interesting what might come up, right?
Right.
If you have as much music catalog as you and I have, you could easily hear something that you haven't heard in 10 years, right?
That's true. On my old phone, though, I basically had to dump everything. I just didn't have music on my phone anymore, except for like 1 or 2 things at a time. So I'd have to rebuild and I guess I will just keep putting stuff on there. So then I'll try that random deal. That might be good.
Yeah, random can be fun because you're creating your own radio station.
That's true.
Because we don't listen to the radio anymore because we're too cool for that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I was taking this survey just for the hell of it. Sometimes I get these surveys, and it's a good way to engage your brain. Take a survey. I'm like, oh, okay, sounds good. Sounds like fun, right?
Right.
And the question came up. It said, which of the following devices do you use to listen to the radio? And it had like 12 different ways you could listen to the radio. But there was no answer for, I don't listen to the radio. So I couldn't give an accurate answer.
Yeah.
And then I
so
thought,
what did you do?
well, then I realized that I guess I do listen to sports radio
Like in your car.
in my car for literally maybe like 5 minutes a week.
Right.
That's about how much I listen to the radio. So
That's not much.
yeah, they didn't have an answer for I only listen to podcasts. That's the new radio, right?
It is the new radio.
Yeah, so you control it. It's like the DVR on your TV.
Right.
You don't have to turn on the TV and watch it live and be exposed to all the terrible commercials.
No.
You just don't have to do it.
No.
Well, and like I've told you, even for live sports, I turn it on, I hit pause, I wait half an hour so I can skip through all the commercials.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I watch football.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
It's pretty nice. Except when I do that, like, I've got like 3 friends that are always texting during the game.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So even if you don't look at it, you're like,
Yeah.
something just happened.
Yeah, I've had that happen. Like, I have it paused. I don't know what's going to happen. And then I get a text or a message.
Like,
It's like,
woo!
yeah, or like, oh, shit. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, damn.
Yeah, or just like, oh my God. Like,
Yeah.
wait, that could be interpreted either way. So, I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, I think we brought it down to 0 now, right?
Yeah, we were above there a little bit.
Yeah, teetering perilously above 0.
Just in case, I'll take a little value away and say that the Brewers are 5-4 now, which is
Yeah.
great. So now we're definitely $0 or
Do you
less.
think it's a universal term to say that a sports team is above or below 500? I bet it's not. Right?
I bet it's not.
They call it 500 because it's 50%. When they put it for some reason, they go down to 3 digits. Isn't that funny? Like, why do they do that
That
with
is,
such
yeah.
precision? Why don't they just do 2? You could be at like 0.54, but instead it's like you're at like 438 or like, or they'll say like a baseball team that's really good, they're playing 600 ball.
Right.
That means you've won 60% of your games.
Right.
So if you're over 500, that phrase means that you've won more than you've lost.
Right.
And the Brewers, right now they're at that. They're 5-4. They're the first time they've been over 500 since like 2 years ago or something.
Yeah. Look
So-
out for the Brewers.
Yeah. Look out. Nobody's going to tell them that they can't win, right?
No.
The media tells them, the fans, the people can say that, but they're not going to listen.
No, they're
They're
not.
going to go on the field and they're going to win games.
Well, just like that, the first game that they lost the first 2 games. Then they're like, oh, right, run differential.
Exactly.
The other team is taking advantage of that rule,
Right.
and we're not. And ever since then, they've played a lot better.
They had a
Take those first 2 games out. They're actually 5-2.
Yeah, if you take those out, yeah.
You know,
I think they had a players only meeting
that always
where they
always
right,
helps.
and
yeah.
they discussed the importance of run differential.
Yep.
Well, hopefully they'll continue to do that. It's important. All right, let's sign off and talk to everybody again next week with another edition of Will's Band of the Week. Good night.
Good night.
You can subscribe to the Will's Band of the Week podcast using iTunes or any other podcast app. All of our podcasts are also available directly on our webpage, willsband.net. You can contact us directly by email to willsband@yahoo.com, on our Facebook page, or on Twitter @willsband. The Will's Band of the Week podcast is brought to you every week from Fourth Bedroom Studios in Madison, Wisconsin. Our theme music was composed by Grant and performed by Grant and Will. Thanks for listening.